Greetings everyone, welcome to our channel where we strive to bring you enlightening and educational content. We're all about making complex concepts accessible and understandable, and today we're delving into a topic that's at the heart of international trade, Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. This isn't just any run-of-the-mill explanation. We're lucky to have insights from a true expert, Bob Ronai, a member of the ICC's Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020 drafting group. We'll be exploring the purpose of Incoterms, their role in the smooth functioning of global commerce, and the key changes introduced in the 2020 update. We'll also be decoding some specific Incoterms rules, so you'll walk away with a clear understanding of terms like ex-works, free carrier, carriage paid to, and more. So, brace yourselves for an informative journey through the world of Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. Before we delve deeper, it's crucial to understand what Incoterms are. Incoterms, or International Commercial Terms, are a series of predefined commercial terms published by the International Chamber of Commerce. These terms are universally recognized and used in international and domestic contracts for the sale of goods. Think of Incoterms as a common language for traders. They're like the rules of the game in international trade. Each Incoterm represents a specific agreement between the seller and the buyer, outlining their respective obligations, costs, and risks concerning the delivery of goods. The main purpose of these terms is to provide a uniform interpretation of common contractual sales practices. This uniformity reduces misunderstandings, disputes, and litigation by providing a clear delineation of tasks, costs, and risks associated with the global transportation and delivery of goods. Now, let's break it down a little further. There are currently 11 Incoterms in use, each represented by a three-letter acronym. These acronyms range from ex-works, EXW, where the buyer is responsible for all costs and risks associated with delivery, to delivered duty paid, DDP, where the seller assumes all responsibilities and costs. It's crucial to understand that Incoterms do not define the point at which ownership of goods transfers from the seller to the buyer. Instead, they deal with the tasks, risks, and costs associated with the delivery process. And it's not just about who pays for what, it's also about who is responsible if goods get lost or damaged in transit, or if delivery is delayed. In other words, Incoterms determine when and where a seller delivers goods to a buyer. These terms are the building blocks of global trade, ensuring clarity and predictability. By using Incoterms, traders can conduct business with confidence, knowing that they have a shared understanding of their obligations, risks, and costs. Let us now look at some of the key changes and updates brought by Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. As the world of international trade evolves, so too must the rules that govern it. The Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020 update brought with it 7 key changes, each one designed to streamline and clarify aspects of international transactions. Firstly, the 2020 update saw the introduction of the new term DPU, or Delivered at Place Unloaded. Replacing the previous term DAT, or Delivered at Terminal, this change was made to accommodate for instances where goods are delivered and unloaded at a place other than a terminal. Next, the free carrier, or FCA term, was updated to allow for bills of lading to be issued after the goods have been loaded onto the transport, providing more flexibility for sellers. The third key change was a shift in the level of insurance coverage in the carriage and insurance paid to, or CIP term. This was increased from the minimum level of Clause C to Clause A, providing more comprehensive coverage to the buyer. The fourth update involved the Cost and Freight, or CFR, and Cost Insurance and Freight, or CIF terms. These terms now require the seller to make arrangements for the carriage to the named destination port, but risk transfers to the buyer once the goods are on board the vessel. The fifth change saw the Incoterms Registered Trademark rules become more accommodating to their use in domestic sales, reflecting the growing trend of using Incoterms Registered Trademark in this context. The sixth update involved enhanced security-related requirements across all terms. This was in response to the increased focus on security in the movement of goods. And finally, the seventh key change saw the provision for own means of transport by the buyer or the seller in the FCA, DAP, DPU, and DDP terms. This update provides greater flexibility for parties using their own transport for carriage. These changes reflect the evolving nature of global trade. Now, we are going to discuss some specific Incoterms rules. Let's dive in, shall we? First up, we have Ex Works or XW. This term means that the seller has fulfilled their obligation once they have made the goods available to the buyer at their premises. The buyer is then responsible for all costs and risks associated with transporting the goods to their final destination. Next is the free carrier term, often abbreviated as FCA. Under this term, the seller delivers the goods to a carrier or another person nominated by the buyer at the seller's premises or another named place. The risk of loss or damage to the goods then transfers from the seller to the buyer after the goods have been delivered to this nominated person. Moving on, we have carriage paid to or CPT. In this agreement, the seller pays the freight for the carriage of the goods to the named destination. However, the risk of loss or damage to the goods, as well as any additional costs due to events occurring after the time the goods have been delivered to the carrier, is transferred from the seller to the buyer. Next in line is carriage and insurance paid to, commonly known as CIP. Under this term, the seller has the same obligations as under CPT, but with the added requirement of procuring insurance against the buyer's risk of loss or damage to the goods during the carriage. Now let's talk about delivered at place or DAP. Here, the seller delivers the goods when they are placed at the disposal of the buyer on the arriving means of transport, ready for unloading at the named place of destination. The seller bears all risks involved in bringing the goods to the named place. Lastly, we have delivered at place unloaded, abbreviated as DPU. This is the only term that requires the seller to unload the goods at the place of destination. The seller bears all risks and responsibilities until the goods are unloaded and ready for the buyer to take over. Each of these terms has its unique implications and requirements, making them vital for international trade. As we wrap up, it's clear that understanding Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020 is crucial for anyone involved in international trade. These terms provide a uniform interpretation of the commercial terms of delivery of goods, forming the backbone of countless transactions globally. They are the language of trade, speaking across borders and cultures to ensure a smooth process from the seller's door to the buyer's. In this enlightening journey, we've navigated the intricate world of Incoterms. We've understood their essence, their role in global commerce, and the significant changes and updates introduced in Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. From the shift in obligations between the parties involved to the introduction of a new term, delivered at place unloaded, the 2020 update has indeed brought about some noteworthy alterations. We dove into specific Incoterms rules, unraveling their meanings and implications. Whether it's Ex Works, which puts the maximum obligation on the buyer, or carriage and insurance paid to, which requires the seller to arrange for the carriage of goods by sea to a destination of the buyer's choice, each term has its unique characteristics and application. But remember, the beauty of Incoterms lies in their universality. They are a common language for traders worldwide, providing clarity and reducing misunderstandings. And yet, their application requires careful consideration of each transaction's unique aspects. Therefore, always ensure to understand each term thoroughly before using it in your trade agreements. This brings us to the end of our exploration of Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. The world of trade is vast and complex, and Incoterms are but one aspect of it. But understanding them can open doors to successful international trading. Thank you for watching this informative session on Incoterms Registered Trademark 2020. Please subscribe to our channel for more educational content. We hope you found this video beneficial. Until next time, goodbye and take care.